listening to the Educated Cowgirl Podcast, Season 2, Episode 8. Hey Cowgirls! I know it has been a minute since my last episode, but life can get a bit busy sometimes, and as I have mentioned in another episode, I only want to provide you with high-quality episodes that I know will bring value to you, the listeners, and for the horse industry. And today's episode is no exception. As horse owners or business owners, when you think of insurance, is your first thought usually, I don't understand this, or does it really apply to my situation? If you answered yes to either of these questions, then you will learn a lot from this episode. Cassidy Carpenter is a barrel racer, mama, and a wife. But most importantly, she is the co-owner of Olive Insurance Agency in Lubbock, Texas. She has run her agency with her business partner and team of other agents successfully for going on 10 years now. And not only has experienced a wide variety of claims, but also has gained so much knowledge and insight into helping owners understand equine insurance better. She really has such a passion for what she does, from always advocating for her clients' needs, communicating with them clearly and honestly, and being fully transparent with them about all the important information they need to know. We talk about so many topics in this episode, in her business and about who she is personally, from sharing a couple crazy claim stories to what her latest cooking obsession has been. I had so much fun talking with Cassidy, and I learned so much more about equine insurance that I didn't know before our conversation. Equine insurance may not be the most enjoyable topic, but as Cassidy will talk about in the episode, it is life insurance on what matters to you the most, and as horse crazy people, we want to know that the people taking care of helping us protect our horses are educating and explaining everything to us in a way that we can understand. So we can continue to do what we love in the show pen, in the sorting pen, or rodeo arena. Without further delay, let's get into my conversation with Cassidy. Hey, and welcome to the Educated Cowgirl Podcast, hosted by yours truly. My name is Abby Carpenter, and I am a cowgirl and equestrian through and through. I started this podcast wanting to make more of an impact in the equine industry. That's why I am making it my mission to help promote the industry to the public through sharing my love for horses through education and bringing other experts and professionals onto the podcast with me to discuss important topics that impact the horse community. So whether you are a crazy horse lady like me, want to learn more about horses, or want to learn more about the industry, you've come to the right place. On this podcast, we will be talking about ownership, horsemanship, fitness, faith, breeds, and so much more. We believe that it doesn't matter what type of saddle you ride in or the breed of horse you may ride. We all contribute to this community to make it great, and that there is always something to learn from the back of your horse. So grab a coffee and get ready to take some notes, and let's get started. This is the Educated Cowgirl Podcast. All right, so welcome back to the show, everyone. I am thrilled with the lady I am speaking with today, and despite us sharing the same last name, we are not related. She is someone who has grown a career helping owners protect what matters to them most, their horses, and what they love to do. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So if you would like to please introduce yourself, what you do, and a fun fact about yourself.
Okay, gosh. I saw a funny Instagram thing the other day that said I would rather eat a rug than say a fun fact about myself. So I really had to think about this. But I guess first off, I'm a mom and a wife. And I have two boys, and they're like grown now, and it's sad. They just like grow up, and they're not little boys anymore. So going through that, survived the first year of college with the first one, 0 stars. Do not recommend. I'm the social media manager of my husband's taxidermy shop, and I'm the co-owner of Olive Insurance Agency that we started from scratch. I guess that's what we're here to talk about today. And a fun fact about myself is I just, this week, came out of barrel racer retirement. I was in a horse accident about 3 years ago, sold my horses, quit, broke a bunch of bones, and I had some babies though, and I had sent them off, and I got one back, and he's 4, and I think that he's gonna draw me right back out of retirement. So that'd be my fun fact.
Very exciting, very exciting. All right, so from my research and exploring your website, your business website, I know you have been doing this for a while. However, let's start at the beginning. Can you talk about how your journey with horses started, how you grew up with them, your journey into deciding on equine insurance as your career path, and how your agency was started, and what was your vision behind the business?
For sure. So, my parents were from Texas. My parents my parents trained barrel fraternity horses my whole life. There was never not 20 head of horses at my house. My parents went to all the barrel fraternities and still do. And so I was never a horse trainer. I was the jockey around there. And I rodeoed, junior rodeoed, high school rodeoed, college rodeoed, pro rodeoed, and had some success at all of those levels. And then, so that's kind of my background of like general knowledge of the industry. Would definitely be the Western industry that I grew up in. Anyway, and then, you grow up and you have to get a job. So I started working at the local insurance agency, and I don't know if anybody is 6 years old and says, when I grow up, I want to sell insurance, and I definitely didn't. But when I got into it, I really, really liked it. I really was immediately like a nerd and understood it and wanted to learn more about it. So I worked at that agency for a while, and worked at that agency for a while, and it was selling. And so with that, I kind of did the commercial insurance stuff there. I would say that's definitely my first love before equine insurance was helping people get their businesses established. And I still do a lot of that. Anyway, and then I did a little bit of equine insurance in that office, just people that needed it. It wasn't something that we ever solicited. And then when that company was changing hands, I reached out to my business partner that had also worked at that office at an earlier time and asked her if that would be something that she would want to take on with me. We didn't ever probably know that we were going to be as successful as 10 years later. If you had told me that we would have grown into what we have, I probably wouldn't have believed you. There was other staple equine insurance companies around. And so, I mean, we offered it, but I wasn't just throwing out flags like, come do it with us. We had other lines of insurance that were definitely keeping our doors open. And the equine portion of our business started with one customer. Like truly, we didn't buy a book. We started with one, and we now, I couldn't tell you the thousands of customers that we have. But Vicki Cunningham, she's still my friend today. She was my first customer, and she is still a customer, and that's kind of how it started. And our vision was we wanted to just do a good job. And I know that sounds like cliche, but like we just wanted to take care of our clients. We'd already kind of been in that world, and it was a small town, and you just became close-knit and had relationships with your customers. And when we started, that's how we started. And that's honestly, I would say, exactly how we still do things and why things have grown and been as successful as they are.
Right. No, yeah. I love that. So along with having the vision or how your business started, that also includes building a strong team around you. Can you talk a little bit about the team you've built at Olive, how they have contributed to the growth of the agency, and any advice for other business owners who may be struggling with hiring the right people?
Well, we've been blessed, very much so. So Shane and I started the company And then early on, we took on Brittany, who's our old, like, been with us. I say Brittany's our baby. We watched her graduate college. We watched her get married, and then she just recently had a baby. So it was really just the three of us for a while, and then we just slowly started transitioning into getting licensed in more states, and then we kind of wanted a more geographical spread of our agents. What you try to integrate into this podcast is like, I don't know much about cutting horses, and I'm not in that industry, but I wanted somebody that did, and so that's kind of how our spider web grew, I suppose. And now there is 11 of us total. We service 40 states. The only states we're not licensed in, I would say, are the states that people don't have horses. And it's been awesome. We learn together. Every Thursday at 10 o'clock, we have a meeting. And I would say that our business, like a large portion of our success, is we just come in and we just swap the situations of the week. And we go through how things played out and what we would do differently. And it's basically like having 10 years of experience times 10, because everybody gets to come in and share things.
Right.
In regards to hiring people, definitely I would say, we just wanted to hire accountable people, and that's what we have. I'm not saying that some of our agents were new when they came on. They came to our office, they went through training, they ask me questions all the time, but they pick up the phone and they show up for their clients, and they advocate for them, and I think that is a big reason of our success. I will say some things that we 100% implement that are huge in our agency is privacy and confidentiality. We're talking about people's money and people's finances and people's businesses. And so if you ask anybody that works for me what is most important to me, it's privacy. Like, it's a steel trap around here. Nobody can find out anything about anybody else's business. That's very important to me. And then also, we don't really sell a rate. And I know that sounds crazy, but across the board, equine insurance is fairly similarly priced. There's lots of extras and add-ons and cherries on top that you can add to your original your vanilla ice cream cone, but we don't sell a rate. When I started this 10 years ago, the rate on a horse was 3% pretty much across the board. It's 3.5 to 3.6 now in our Western world, and it's only going to go up. It's only going to go up, just like your car insurance and stuff. And so we don't really. I teach my agents to just do a good job and be accountable, because same as their house insurance is going to go up, slowly but surely their horse insurance is going to go up too. That's just the nature of the business. Yeah. And we want our people to stay with us forever because we do a good job. We don't want somebody to leave because they found it cheaper over here. And I do want people to leave because they found it cheaper over here, but ironically, they tend to circle back. So that's a kind of a success story that we get to share.
Yeah, no, I like that. And I like what you said about you don't advertise your rate or you don't promote it, because then it kind of shows your clients and potential clients like you're not in this for money, you're in this to help them and their horses, and I like that.
Yeah, transparency is my biggest selling point, I would say. I'm not going to tell you that your rate's not going to increase next year, because honestly, it's out of my hands. It's like, well, we just had this terrible hailstorm in West Texas, and everybody wants to know, why is our insurance so high? Well, your insurance is so high in West Texas because every May this storm comes through and just pulverizes everything, and somehow the insurance company is also a business and they have to regroup. So that's how that happens.
Yes, exactly. So I think that when most people think of the word insurance, it can leave a poor taste in their mouth, whether from a bad experience with a claim or a liability problem with trainers or property disputes. What would you say are the biggest myths or misconceptions you would like to clear up when it comes to equine insurance?
Oh, well, This is going to make somebody mad. Loss of youth, loss of youth is a big misconception that I think that some people don't explain thoroughly, and so people are like, "We have loss of use insurance," and I'm like, "No, you don't." Well, what they have is a clause in their insurance policy that if your horse is if a vet ever deems that your horse needs to be put down because he can't sustain like a pain-free life anymore, your policy does pay for that. That being said, the horse does have to be put down for that. That's not loss of use coverage. And a lot of times I feel like that is a misconstrued wording where people think that they have that coverage, and that's not what they have. Loss of use coverage kind of has went away for the most part. I think maybe the hunter jumpers still have some eligibility for it, but it was expensive in the first place. It never paid the full, back when it was a thing, it didn't pay the full of insured amount of your horse in the first place. And if you dig real deep into that policy, it'll tell you that the insurance company, if you actually do decide to do that, or when you could, they technically have the right to take possession of your horse. So
the insurance company does, or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting.
Very interesting. Same thing with stallion infertility. I don't sell a lot of that because if you really dig deep into that policy about stallion infertility, the things that would actually cause your stallion to become sterile most likely aren't going to happen. And if for some reason you decided to cash in on that stallion infertility, they can also take your horse. Your horse has to be castrated, which I think is kind of not that good for an older horse, and they take the papers. So I'm like, we don't want to buy that. And I feel like a lot of times that agents maybe don't explain that thoroughly. So, but I don't know. I wouldn't say that misconceptions of insurance would be the word. I would say that if there's ever an issue where somebody's mad about insurance, and sometimes you see those people on social media, it was just more of a miscommunication situation with you and your agent. Good, bad, and ugly, I want you to know what you bought. Yeah. Because in the claim aspect, and that's kind of what we preach at our agency. Because when it comes down to a claim, you need to know what's covered, and you need to know what you bought. And I feel like insurance is good, but sometimes the communication is not, and you really should just have an agent that is more focused on what would happen in a claim versus selling a policy, I guess.
No, communication is really key, and getting an insurance agent that really understands your needs, explain it to you in a way that an owner will understand, because obviously owners won't understand the big words in insurance a lot of the time. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah, when you get down deep in there, you're like, what? Yeah. And so you need somebody that is like, no, this is what this means, and here's a real case scenario where it was beneficial, and here's a real case scenario where it didn't work out that good for these reasons.
Yeah. So with communication and staying informed, which I think is one of the most important parts, is education. And you mentioned this in your initial email, that is one thing you are passionate about. What are some ways you have shared your knowledge with the public within the Western and equine industries? Were they mostly through social media, speaking, seminars, or how have you taught owners about equine insurance?
So like I had said previously, me and my business partner, we came from a very small town insurance agency where you do create like personal relationships with each of your clients. And we did kind of carry that into this business. So I'd say a lot of my education is just one-on-one, because the way that our agency is set up is a lot different than other agencies, even other equine insurance agencies, to where if I'm your agent, other than billing, you would talk to me. And so and that goes across the board for all of our agents. So a lot of my explanations are via phone call. And my favorite thing that I say is like, hey, if you're interested in major medical, call me on the phone, because I could give you 87 scenarios and I don't want to type it out. Social media but that goes across the board. Like all of our education, we come together and learn as a group, and then every one of our customers has an agent, and that is who they deal with directly. And so there's a lot of one-on-one that goes on. Also, social media. Like, I try to at least once a week get down into some deeper parts of a policy and explain it in layman's terms on our Facebook page. Just like the other day, Wednesday, I had a what's covered Wednesday post where I was simply explaining to the masses how important it is to contact your agent when your horse has a change in health, because you have a really cool thing in your policy called a 12-month extension. So like even if your policy renews and you maybe have an exclusion, as long as you reported it in the prior policy, you technically have 12 more months of coverage for that, as long as we know about it. So that's a really cool feature that I like want to share. And social media is probably where I go to educate the masses. I do some videos about once a year about foal insurance and how we need to cover that and what it costs, and pro foal, which would be like an embryo. It's a little expensive, but there's parts of it that are good. So yes, I would say education comes from social media. Education comes from talking to our agents and then letting them go talk to their people personally. And then I have a really cool situation with all of our carriers where we get to talk to them directly. So we get to sit down and have dinner about once a year and discuss the good, bad, and ugly and see where we need to make changes. And they listen to me, which is really cool, because sometimes I feel like not that important, and then they really are super nice and listen. So that's cool.
Very cool. Very cool. So what do you think is the most important thing for owners to remember when it comes to insurance?
I would say it's my layman's terms that I like to tell people is equine insurance is a life insurance policy for your horse. And that's what it is. And it's not a care credit card. And if you get vet services and you think it's going to pay your vet bills, it's really not. It's more of a safety net situation. It's just a life insurance policy for your horse. And as long as you follow the procedures, it is a very successful thing to keep people where they can recoup their losses when they need it. I would also say that I tell people a lot of the times, if you have a barn full, don't go broke. Don't go broke buying insurance. Spread it across the barn. Think about, and then like if you have older horses, let's don't go broke. Let's lower it down. And it really is, it's just a safety net, and it shouldn't ever be something that breaks the bank for you. We can always adjust it, and it shouldn't be something that you rely on as far as every time that you visit the vet.
Yeah. Okay, so in the 10 years you've been in business, you have probably had a wide variety of clients and issues arise. With regards to privacy, can you share a couple of the craziest claims you've received and dealt with, what you learned from them, and how sharing these stories can help listeners out there who might be dealing with a similar issue or help them avoid them in the future?
Oh, okay. So I knew we were going to talk about this, and I called Cimarron Thompson. He's a customer of mine, and I'm like, can I say your name? Can I say what happened? Crazy story. He was a customer of mine. He bought a horse, called me, hey, Cassie, I bought this horse. So what we do there is I'm like, cool, I'll email you this paperwork. You need to sign it. We'll get that rolling. I think it was like a Friday, and got everything situated. Saturday, he calls me and he's like, Cassie, this horse is dead. And I'm like, what? Anyway, he had just bought that horse. He had taken it to Vernon to a roping. It sat back at the trailer, came up, hit its head. They thought, the claims department thought that somebody had shot it. Like a passerby had shot the horse. It was graphic. It was gory. And the only reason I'm telling this story is because he literally said I could. He actually said that he would send me the pictures, and I was like, no, I don't want to see those again. It was a terrible experience, but it was so like fast, like bought the horse died that, and that was early on, like that was early on in my career. And I was like, oh shit, like this is going to be a wreck. It wasn't a wreck at all. When you get insurance, you have it, no matter if you have it for a day or you have it for 364 days. And so if something happens to your horse is going to be paid for. It was just like it was one of those, I'm like, that one will forever stay in my memory bank, because not only was it fast paced, it was like bloody. Oh, it was in public. Like it was just a terrible, terrible situation.
Oh, yeah.
And literally we laughed about it a little bit yesterday, because we were both like, oh shit. And then it all turned out fine.
Yeah.
Another one that I thought was kind of crazy when I was thinking about this, I have a lot of vet friends. I work closely with vets. I have vets that are customers. And so, I have a really close relationship with the people at Brock Vet Clinic in Lamesa. And, they just are like, it's all of do your insurance, because we have a lot of customers. And then we have a really streamlined process of making claims go smoothly. One night, my buddy Dustin calls me and he's like, hey, I'm about to do colic surgery on this horse, which is common, no big deal, whatever. He's like, they just bought it. I'm like, okay, not a big deal, whatever. And he said, man, I did colic surgery on this horse about 6 months ago. And I'm like, well, they didn't tell me. Anyway, they didn't know. The people that bought the horse, they did not know that the horse had had colic surgery previously. They didn't crawl underneath him. It wasn't disclosed to them. Yeah. And when you fill out your paperwork, it's everything in a new ownership situation is to the best of your knowledge. And they did not know. Honest to God, they did not know. And that colic surgery was paid for. It wouldn't have been if the other people had still owned the horse, but that colic surgery was paid for. I don't remember if that horse survived or not, but yeah. I didn't know you should crawl under your horse and see if it had a scar when you buy it. Yeah. But maybe keep that in mind. Anyway, it got paid for. It was fine because everything is always to the best of your knowledge, and they were transparent, and it all worked out. But that was kind of another one that threw us for a little loop.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's not really usually something that's a part of the pre-purchase exam, is to crawl under the horse. So, I mean.
No, and I don't think they didn't get a pre-purchase exam or anything, but like, yeah, you look at a horse, you're like, oh, his head's pretty, he's short pastured, and his hocks look normal, like, we'll take him. I've never, not once, been like, let me crawl under there and see if he has a scar, but yeah. So I didn't blame him, but anyway, that was another one, also got paid, but a funny story later when we got through it.
Yeah, no, for sure. So since you are in Texas, can you talk a little bit about how the EIA, or equine infectious anemia outbreak, has directly impacted insurance coverage plans, or what you have discovered with how it changes their coverage options?
Okay, so yes. And this is another one of those, like, people aren't going to want to hear this. But so in your policy, when you dig down deep in there, it says in there that if a government or local authority that has jurisdiction decided to basically invoke like a mass euthanization to stop the spreading, that's not covered. That is one of the things that's excluded in your policy. And we were out with 4 carriers. I dug deeper to see if that was something that was covered under your bascule policy, and it's not. I looked up a policy, and it's kind of streamlined across the board. If a government mandated type of situation came into play, your policy would not be covered. Now, if there was a reasoning for it, and like somebody was at fault, they would have proper insurance that would probably help you recoup your losses there.
Right.
And then if you had insurance on your horse that had already determined the value of your horse, I think that would definitely expedite that process of like subrogation. But no, you should read in your policy as far as like a Coggins outbreak that deemed mass quarantine, not quarantine would be fine. But like if they deemed that those animals needed to be euthanized, it's not covered under your policy. So keep that in mind. I know that that's not always good news, but like I said, I'm not here to sugarcoat things.
Yeah.
I just want you to know what you have. That is not something that is covered. So another weird one that's not covered that people probably don't know about. Well, obviously elective surgeries are never going to be covered under your policy. Elective or cosmetic, which you're like, okay, fine, like no big deal. The only big deal there is castration is considered an elective policy.
Interesting.
So every spring or whenever it is when the moon's right and people start deciding that they're going to gild their colts, we remind our customers that they need to call us and add a little bit of extra coverage for that an anesthesia coverage just in case something went wrong, because technically it is not covered under your regular policy. Castration is considered elective. I'm going to elect it every time, but it's not covered. So like, I mean, whether you're an agent, whether you are a customer of Olive or whether you have your stuff somewhere else, you should keep that in mind and double check that with your agent of record, because it's not covered.
Interesting. Yeah. I would have never known that.
Did you know that?
No. I would have never known that, because back when I was in school, like we would get some colts in for the training program that hadn't been cut yet. And so we'd have to cut them. And I had no idea that. I just thought it was, And
I mean, the likelihood of something, not going right there is minuscule, but I do want my customers to know that we need to go ahead and add a $30 little thing on there for a general anesthesia extra coverage if you're nervous about it. I did not add it on mine. I was nervous in general about the whole thing because he was my first little baby, but everything turned out fine, and he's the 4-year-old that I was talking about.
Yeah,
for sure. We had a meeting this morning at 10 o'clock actually, and I was kind of getting prepared for this one, and this same conversation was like circling around through all the stuff. And the funny things that you can read if you dig deep into your policy, like if you put your horse in a containment with a animal of prey, that is not covered, like if something happens. And so I'm like, so don't put a lion in the trailer with your horse. And everybody laughed, like, well, why would you do that? But one of our agents, Chase, he works on a game ranch, like, and they have exotic animals and stuff. And I said, no lions. But I said, so Chase, if you decided to ride your horse around in the pen with the sable and he got speared, that wouldn't be covered, right? And it was kind of a more realistic look at that exclusion versus don't put your horse on a trailer with a lion. So.
Yeah. All right. So for a more like specific example, kind of, let's say there's a first-time owner who only really wants to take lessons, trail ride, maybe attend 1 or 2 shows a year. If they come to you asking, do I even need to insure my horse? And isn't it more expensive to insure an older horse? Why should I spend the money? What are the benefits of having the horse insured for a first-time owner?
Okay, so what I would tell a first-time owner, like let's say Bob came and he bought his daughter a horse. These are my favorite customers too, by the way, especially in the barrel horse world, because they come and they're like, oh, we just bought this horse. And I'm like, oh, we're going to be friends for a long time, Bob. This is only going to snowball from here.
Yeah.
And it's true. But that first horse, like they call and they're like, well, what do we need to do? And let's say they paid $7,500 for this horse. And I tell them, all right, for $275 here, we can insure this horse for the year. If anything happens to it, and they're like, we don't know what we're doing, and I'm like, it's fine. for $275, you can have your money back if something goes terribly wrong. You can buy a new horse. But also the best part of this is if the horse colics. Do you know how much colic surgery costs? And they don't. Mm-hmm. And you tell them, and they're like, and it just pays for it. And I'm like, it just pays for it. When we start at the bottom, I'm like, buy the insurance. It's worth it for the colic surgery coverage. Like for $10,000, you're spending, for a $10,000 horse, you're spending $350 a year. Mm-hmm. That's less than $1 a day to know that if something happens, you get to buy your kid another horse, and you get to pay the vet and not come out of your pocket. So when we start with the people that are like, gosh, we're just doing this and this is just a hobby, I'm kind of like, Bob, for $1 a day, I would probably spend the money.
Yeah.
And that's my thing. Now, when on the complete flip side of that, if you're a trainer and you have a barn full, mm-hmm. and you could insure them to the max, mm-hmm. and it's going to cost you $35,000 for the year, mm-hmm. that's where I will reel you back in and be like, hey, let's lower the amounts on everything here. Let's spread our risk, and know that essentially we saved $15,000. So mm-hmm. if you do lose one and it wasn't insured for what you thought it was, think about the $15,000 you saved this year. We could put that mm-hmm. together and we could go buy a new prospect. And we didn't go broke doing it. And if you have 3 good years of, spreading your risk and not breaking the bank with your insurance, you've saved quite a bit of money. So
yeah. So
I was talking to a guy the other day. I'm so sorry. I was talking to a guy the other day. And he said, "You're the worst. You're the most worst honest insurance salesman I've ever talked to in my life. I like it." And I was like, "It's because I also buy it. So I'm trying to make it make sense for all of us."
Yeah. You're a horse owner yourself, so you understand that you don't want to also spend thousands of dollars on insurance that you don't need or you don't have to. So.
You don't have to. You can leave that over here. And then people will be like, I'm just going to self-insure. And I'm like, okay, hear me out. I don't think that's a terrible idea, but I think we should meet in the middle, because even if you insure these horses for less than you paid for them, you still get that colic surgery coverage for free mm-hmm. with no deductible. And I don't think that anybody wants to write those checks.
No.
But you want to save your horse, so...
Yeah.
I would rather pay for insurance than colic surgery, I guess.
Yeah. And then going back to with the trainer part of it, like when you're trying to figure out how to save them money, is that where like it comes into play of looking at a horse's show record and like seeing their value from that, or?
Yeah. So like you have multiple different ways that people acquire their horses, and we value mm-hmm. their horses. So if you raised your horse, we start with like the stud fee. And then if you still don't kind of feel like, we can go 3 times the stud fee. And if you still don't feel like that has you adequately insured, then we can start. This is kind of something that I started with the insurance company I'm kind of proud of on the barrel racing side. We start seeing what incentives they're eligible for. So like, mm-hmm. what is their, like, what are they going to win later? Like, what are the plans for these? And then we can add that to a baby's value. When you buy a horse, that one's pretty cut and dry. Purchase price, we can insure them for purchase price. When you train a horse, even if you're doing the training yourself, we mm-hmm. can allot, that's value, and that costs money, and mm-hmm. that's investment. So we can allot 50% of the training fees, whether you pay somebody or you do it yourself, to the value of a horse. And then dollar for dollar, whatever you win on one, that can go straight to their value.
Nice.
Any hunter, jumper, anything you do, that valuation is across the board. So I always tell people, keep a record of what you win all year long, so that when we circle back at your renewal, you can, if you want to increase it, we can increase it. If you want to save some money, we can save some money and lower it and swap things around.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot. And it definitely helps with, there's some prize money programs where you have to nominate the foal before they're born. So do you have options, like if the mare loses the foal and they lose that potential earnings from that program?
I mean, no, that would go back into like our prospective offspring coverage, where we could value that embryo as long as they've paid money in. Like, just because your horse is eligible, if you haven't started making payments towards that, then it wouldn't be investment at that point. But if they have been paying money towards that, yes, we have a pro-foal policy which covers a pregnancy and embryo from day 42 of the pregnancy until the foal is 30 days old.
Okay, nice. All right, so moving on to a slightly lighter note, not that the rest hasn't been fun, but let's talk a little bit about you personally, because as we both know, it's important to prioritize not only work, but getting that quality time in with family and friends. What are some of your passions and activities you like to do outside of the office that you enjoy doing in your free time? And as someone who owns their own business, what would you say to the person who might be struggling with believing that a work-life balance is out of reach for them?
Sometimes I think it is. No. Well, I guess I'm a mom. Like I said earlier, I have two boys. My kids rope, and my husband just also kind of started back roping. So my job is I really love my job in general, but my job is really fun because it integrates me into getting to see and talk to my customers that have became friends all the time. Like I sit in this office and my phone rings a lot, and I get to talk to my friends that are also my customers. And then we go to the rope-ins. You'll catch me in one of those big comfy blue chairs at the rope-ins a lot. And then also, I don't know what else, but I cook a lot. And I think that I'm funny, and like, I don't know, 500 of my friends on Facebook also sometimes get my jokes. So when I like to share my funny days and funny stories with my friends. And then I'm really just mom mostly, and I enjoy that. My job's a lot of fun. I get to catch up with customers and visit on a daily basis. So
yeah.
And as far as being a business owner, I have always had like a pretty big entrepreneurial mindset. Back in the day, I used to put on some barrel races. They were excellent, and I swear that all my friends came, and it was the toughest barrel races in West Texas, and they really messed up my entry. And so it dwindled down because it's so tough.
Yeah.
And so I've always had a really big entrepreneurial mindset. I would say that as long as you're, have some integrity and some accountability, you can do whatever you want. I tell my kids that all the time. Like, just pick up the phone and talk to people and be accountable, and you'll be good at whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Time-wise, I would tell anybody that wants to start a business, you better like what you're doing, because you're going to spend a lot of time doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Owning your own business. I made a joke on my Facebook. Owning your own business across 40 states means that I am in all time zones. Mountain time for you today.
Yeah.
My phone rings all the time. And if I hated my job, it would be miserable. But I don't.
Yeah. And loving what you do and like having that be a part of your everyday life helps. If you ever feel burnt out, like, what do you go to cooking when you feel burnt out, or you just can't handle another insurance call, or what do you do when you're burnt out?
I don't know. I don't know, Abby. I have not got there yet. I will never not answer my phone. My phone rings at 1:30 in the morning because my customers forgot the claims number and they're in a panic. And I'm happy I heard it, and my husband's used to it by now. The other night, my phone rang at 1:30, and I got up and answered it because it stays with me all the time. And it was on a claim situation, and we got it worked out and fixed. And he never batted an eye. He said, "Hey, while you're up, would you give me some Tylenol?" and so it's been. I don't know. I haven't ever got burned out on it. I don't take a lot of vacations. I don't vacation well, and I cook dinner every night. And if my phone rings while I'm doing it, then I answer it. I was making a joke. When I was talking about my fun facts, I was going to tell you I decided to go with the barrel racer one, but I was a little on the fence because I was going to tell you that I've got this new obsession where I've been smoking briskets, which works out really good if your phone rings in the middle of the night because I'm like up wrapping a brisket anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, no. What you said about answering a call at 1:30 in the morning, it reminded me of a TikTok audio. It's something like, I didn't want to work a 9 to 5, so I decided to work 24/7 or something like that.
That is the truest. It's so true. And yeah, like rarely do we go on vacation, but when we do go on vacation, I mean, my family knows that if they sleep in the same hotel room with me, like there is a very, very good chance that my phone is going to go off at least 3 times during the nighttime hours, and everybody's been cool with it. So
yeah,
I'm glad to have them be supportive.
Yeah. So with being licensed in 40 different states, is there like a major difference you've seen between states at all in like policy?
Oh, that's a good question, Abby. Yeah, real good question. So the policies are the same, streamlined. 40 states in Canada, the policies are the same. I will say veterinary costs, they vary through the states. So like the northern states that don't have a vet clinic around every corner, and maybe they don't have, there's a lot of places that don't have a colic surgery set up. Colic surgery in the northern states is significantly more expensive than it is down here where it's more readily available. Any vet work, really, like any sort of vet work, I would say, is definitely more expensive in the north.
Yeah, I could see that, especially like in outskirts of Montana, where you have to drive like an hour or 2 hours to the vet. Like, yeah.
Correct. And you know, and then if they don't have a colic facility there, and you have to go 4 more hours, then that's an issue in itself. But like when I come across people's addresses, like here in Texas, I think like 7,500-ish, no complications, surgery. That's a pretty average price. Sometimes less. And so when you go get into like Missouri, like further up, I say, hey, like what's colic surgery cost there? Because for $150 extra, we can add this little rider with no deductible, so that you wouldn't be, you know, at $6,000 in debt at the vet because your policy didn't pay for all of it. So we do adjust in those manners.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting. So Cassidy, we've talked about so much, and it's been so fun sharing your stories and so informative. Is there anything you've seen recently or feel people should be more aware of that we didn't cover that you'd like to share?
Oh gosh, probably, but I can't really think of anything like off the top of my head. I would say this is just one little piece of advice. If you go to write a policy for your horse, we went back to valuation. I think a lot of the valuation stuff, we do at Olive Insurance, we want all of your stuff up front for your valuation. If you call me and you tell me, hey, I got this horse, he's a good one, he's worth $85,000, that is awesome. I need you to put it on paper, because never in a million years am I going to argue with you about the value of your horse in the middle of a claim. And and a lot of times people are like, well, they didn't make me do that over there. Well, you need to be somewhere where your agent did the homework up front on the valuation of your horse. I do think that in the event where people get mad about insurance and the insurance didn't pay, it was because we were lacking due diligence on the agency side. Because honestly, like we have so many happy customers. We haven't really had any bad experiences, and it is just truly because we do the necessary things in the beginning and not after the fact. And so I would tell people that if you signed your horse up for insurance and you didn't have to fill out but one piece of paper, you might circle back.
Yeah.
you might go fill out a little bit more paperwork so that it's not a complete catastrophe in the event of a claim.
Yeah, and it goes back to what you said about keeping records of everything, because we try not to go there, but if it does go to the courts, you want to make sure you have the information. And if insurance agency gets called up, you want to know that you're not going to get in trouble for anything, or they're not going to get in trouble for anything because you didn't have the correct information, or because someone could say their horse is worth $100,000 and then you're like, wait a second, something's not adding up.
Oh, and they can pay the premium for it. Yeah, you can say you have a $100,000 horse and you can pay for the insurance premium for it. But at some point, if the insurance company has to pay you, they're going to want a justification of value. And it's a heck of a lot easier to do it at the beginning than it is at the end. And it also speeds up claims a lot. I tell people what I do. I'm not a paper person. I just take pictures of it. So, like nowadays, results and stuff, everything is on social media. So, like if your horse wins money or your kid wins money, screenshot it and put it in that album for the year. And then when we get to a renewal, it's there. And it's also like accurate information that has, the producer's notes on it. So that is something that would absolutely stand up on a justification of value.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so one last question before we get into the rapid fire questions. In your own words, how would you define an educated cowgirl?
Okay, you sent me this, which was really sweet because I wanted to think about it. So I would say that an educated cowgirl is somebody that never stops learning. I learn stuff every day through every experience. And I would also say that an educated cowgirl is somebody that never stops doing cowgirl things. And when I say cowgirl things, I don't mean like riding your horse. I mean doing things that give you some butterflies and might be kind of hard. So that's my educated cowgirl. Keep learning and keep doing hard shit.
Love it.
Hard stuff.
Love it. All right. So now for the fun rapid fire questions. If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Probably my grandmother.
All right. So what is one book, podcast, app, or hack that you live by that you have to share?
Oh, gosh. Okay. So I have friends. I'm in my late 30s, and I have friends that are like, cooking is hard, and cooking is not hard. It has been made even easier with TikTok. So like I am a TikTok recipeer. I will try anything that is like on TikTok at least once. So I'm always sending things to my friends to try, the ones that can't cook. I'm like, surely you could do this.
Yeah.
So get yourself an Instapot and get yourself a TikTok and just impress your family.
Love it. All right. What is your biggest horse ick?
Oh, those Lycra fly masks. You know the ones I'm talking about? People are going to be mad at me about this. It's like the ones that stick to their face and then it has the bubbles in the ears.
Oh, yeah.
And I think about when I wear lined shorts and how hot they are.
Yeah.
And how miserable that would be if it was wrapped around my face.
Yeah. Just do a regular old-fashioned fly mask. I'm good.
Yeah, can we get some airflow? I just would like some airflow. My horseshoer, Michael, he was telling me what a great deal he got on his Lycra fly mask, and I made fun of him. So
yeah,
definitely.
All right. So sunrise or sunset?
Oh, well, a West Texas sunset is really, really, really hard to beat. And somebody told me that the pink is dirt. And so, like, where I live, the pink is prominent, and we have some really, really good sunsets.
Yeah, yeah. Nice, nice. All right, so thank you again for reaching out to me, Cassidy. This conversation was so much fun, and I learned a lot, and I know my listeners will. Where can people find you on social media or follow Olive Insurance Agency? And then how can they contact you or your team?
So we have a Facebook page, we have an Instagram page, we have a TikTok page that really hasn't went anywhere. Me personally, if you go to our website, theoliveagency.com, there is a contact us page where you can see all 10 of us. It has our phone number and our email address, and you can talk to us that way. And then I guess that's it. So my email, my phone number, it's all on the website, theoliveagency.com.
Nice, nice. Love it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Educated Cowgirl. I hope you enjoyed it, learned something new, and will come back for more. In the meantime, if you would like to continue to support the show, make sure you hit that follow button on whichever platform you're listening on, follow me on social media, and make sure to leave me a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And if you really want to share the podcast, make sure you tag me in your Instagram stories at The Educated Cowgirl. But for now, stay blessed and ride on, cowgirls.